rice and macaroni salad. And if you want a burger style, they got that too. Available daily for a limited time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate everybody being here. Big show today. You and me for 2 hours. Got a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. Your brackets, March Madness, Mendoza Monday. We welcome on Monday Facebook, X, YouTube. Please subscribe and like. You know how that goes. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I'm back from a nice 4-day trip, 4.5-day trip to St. Augustine, Florida, which was really nice. We'll talk about that a little bit, but not a lot. People don't come here to listen to 3-day to 4-day vacations, but I'll have a couple of things to say about our airports, and that's about it. So get in the chat. Good to be back. It's a big week. The draft is a month from today. The draft is 1 month from today, and we are all over it. And what I'm going to dive into here at the monologue is how to cover the draft. How do you cover the draft?
It's the JT the Break Show. This is the Silver and Black. This is the Raiders. This is a historic franchise. This is no ordinary job. Your Silver and Black home to sound off for over 25 years.
I don't care if I offend somebody. If it isn't right, I'm going to stop practice. We're going to do it the right way.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT, as we open it up. Good to be back. I'm here with Clay Baker. We're rolling. You should be here. You should be up and running on YouTube at JT the Brick. YT. On Mondays, we do Facebook. Mondays, we're live on Facebook at JT the Brick. I love Facebook, especially on days like today. And we're also, again, on X, where you can watch on X, and I know people are able to do it that way, as I just tweeted out the link to family and friends, and I consider you friends. Maybe some are family watching, but you all mean everything to me as we're ready to roll. Hope everybody had a good weekend. March Madness, the Fraternal Order of the Men of Khaki Pants are gone. They were here in Vegas for 4 days with their khaki pants, their steakhouses, their strip bars, their ATM fees of $14 ATM fees when they needed new cash, their buckets, hopefully a Modelo. Hopefully they drank a bunch of Modelo. And everyone had a great time. Vegas knows how to do March Madness, don't they? Man, do they know how to do March Madness. And so far, it looks like a really good March Madness. We got upset alert, upsets. We got upsets. We got heavyweight fights. Florida is out of the tournament. Wow, I picked them last year and won a bracket contest going with the Gators. Didn't go this year with them. I went Arizona and Illinois in the championship game. If Illinois gets to the championship game against against Arizona, I'm going to win. So I'm out on a limb. You got to be out on a limb. You got to have some team that's not a top seed to get there to the final. And if you're winning money, tell us how you're doing it. Tell us what I like to do here on Mondays is ease into it. Ease into it because I go balls out every day, right? We go crazy every day. So right now, people don't know if I'm back. No, I'm back. We're on the radio. You ever heard of a radio? They're in your cars. They still work. Even though you're chasing videos and podcasts, turn the radio up and sound off like you got a pair. Someday, I will come in and Clay will tell me every phone line's full, and then I will quit. I will go to my boss, Natalie, and I said, I'm done. Everybody's waiting for me on hold. But until then, I still have to give you the number. I still have to invite you. I still have to remind you that you're involved with the show. Because a lot of shows have 6 co-hosts now, and they don't take calls because the 6th co-host or the 5th is wearing a costume or a cheese head on their head, and they want to be funny, and they don't want to take your call. They don't care what you think. But they want you to listen. They want you to buy the advertising. They want you to tune in every day, but they don't care about you. I care about you. I do. And I want to hear what you have to say. So here's what I wanted to get to today and what I want to talk about when it comes to the next month. The draft is a week from today. On this day, a month from today on this day. It'll be held in Pittsburgh. The Raiders have the number 1 pick overall. We are all assuming, everyone is assuming they're going to take Fernando Mendoza, including myself. I take pride in not wasting people's time on the radio. I do. I take a lot of pride in not wasting your time. I try to give my best every day. I've been doing this 30 years. I think I do it better than most because I know what to do as a content provider. What's the topics that need to get in my 20-minute monologues so I can set the tone before you call in and then we could have a lively debate, a spirited debate. You could agree or disagree with me. Most of the people who only disagree with me are on X with eggheads. They don't even put their face up there. They just hide and they disagree with me, which is okay. I'm maturing every day. But the people on the phones mean a lot to me because I don't know what you're thinking until I hear from you. But I'm pretty sure I know what you're thinking on this Mendoza Monday. Brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. You know, Modelo's my go-to. They're proud partners of the show. We're doing a lot with them around the draft as a proud partner here. So I pretty much think I got this thing nailed. There's probably less than a 1% chance that the Raiders don't take Mendoza. Okay, so again, there's a chance. I didn't think Max Crosby was going to get traded. I was the guy who was on the radio saying, don't trade him, we need Max Crosby. Was I right? Well, in theory, I'm right. Max Crosby's still a Raider. But you're not going to give me credit for that, nor am I doing a victory lap. I'm pretty sure Mendoza's going to the Raiders, and he's going to be our franchise quarterback. If I'm wrong, what are you going to do? Arrest me with the Twitter police, throw me in jail? No, you're not. So I'll survive it, but I think that's going to happen. But what I did predict is that the naysayers would line up to go after this young man. I predicted it before anybody you listen to, and you'll give me credit for that. I did shows on this topic. I told you they were coming, right? I'm the guy in Game of Thrones on the wall, looking in the distance for the White Walkers. I see them coming, and I let you know. So I told you this was going to happen, that they were going to come after our guy. Yes, he's our guy, Mendoza. He's ours. We are going to cherish this young man. We are going to protect him in the Raider Nation. Now, if something bizarre happens at a pro day, something weird happens, anything normally doesn't happen, but if it does, you know where to find me. But as we open up the show today, I'm assuming that we're going to have Mendoza at number 1 overall. So how does that affect the show? Well, there's some good news. Every day I'm going balls out on Mendoza. It's low-hanging fruit, right? It's low-hanging fruit. You got to look at the low-hanging fruit and look at it. Now, you got to go out on a limb because that's where the best fruit is. The best fruit is out on the limb, the far end of the limb. Did you know that? It is. But we're not going to walk away from this Mendoza Monday. We're not going to walk away from the Raider draft party. We're not going to walk away from any of this. We're going to embrace this guy, and we are going to start protecting him now. Protect the shield. Now, maybe the harshest criticism I get is that I protect the shield too much. That's pretty cool. Well, JT's a shield. JT protects the owner. JT protects the coach. You got me. I work for the team. I apologize. If I didn't work for the team, you'd remind me I didn't work for the team someday. So as of now, I protect the shield. I want the best for the Raiders. I don't have to explain that to everybody. Everybody already knows it, even if they love me, like me, or don't know me. They know I'm going to protect the Raiders shield. Now we got to start protecting this guy. But we're allowed to let in some criticism. We want to hear what everybody else is saying about Fernando Mendoza, and if Mendoza is going to be clearly a great quarterback. So earlier today, I was talking to my youngest son, and let me get this in. We just got back from a quick little vacation. We were gone. We flew out Wednesday to St. Augustine, Florida, through Jacksonville. Beautiful airport. No lines. Oh, my God. No lines. Everybody's nice. Bags came out. Golf clubs came out. And we golfed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Played in a father-son golf tournament with my fraternity brothers. It wasn't your typical vacation where I'd normally be in Maui swimming with the turtles, getting a massage, and going to bed after sunset. That's a vacation. That's what vacations are supposed to be. This was just the opposite of that. 30 fraternity brothers who I've known since I've been 17. A lot of cerveza, a couple of green tea shots. They didn't know that green tea shots were so big in Vegas. Had a couple of those, hung out, had a couple of great nights with my buddies, their wives. My wife was with me, but it was mostly father-son, playing golf with my son, and guys that, again, guys in their 60s now who I'm playing golf with their sons in their 20s. So we had a really nice trip. I flew back last night really late, so I flew Southwest. I want to give them a plug because they did a great job. My bags were there. We connected through Nashville late, right? We got into Nashville late, and then we landed here at like 1 a.m. And oh boy, if you missed that flight, that connected, you're done. You're done. No more. You're done. You're in Nashville for the night. So we came out. The bags were there. Golf clubs were there. No lost luggage. Got home, and I was talking to my young son today about the show because he's behind the scenes of the chat on YouTube. And I said, "What do we want to do with this Mendoza Monday thing?" He's like, "Go for it, Dad. This is you. This is what you do. Go for it. He knows me, right? He's my son. Go for it. I go, yeah, we're gonna stir this up in a good way. But we got to have open, fair analysis from everybody. So there's only a few people out there that don't think that he is elite. And that's a really important point that I wanted to make here in the monologue, is that he needs to be elite. Ooh, what's JT about to say? I want to clip it and put it on a website. So I'm going to give it to you right here. I'm going to give it to you right here so everybody else can copy this going forward and they can take credit for it or give it credit to me. Fernando Mendoza needs to be elite. Not good, not very good. He needs to be elite or we don't take him number one. Okay? Everybody got that? He needs to be elite. What is elite? Well, there's quarterbacks who've won the Super Bowl who are definitely not elite. Right? Brad Johnson, Jeff Hostetler, Trent Dilfer, but they won a Super Bowl. And to me, Super Bowls are more important than stats. Give me the Super Bowls all day long. Jim Plunkett's not in the Hall of Fame. He should be. Jim Plunkett clearly wasn't elite, but he was elite in the biggest of games. The biggest of games. Plunkett should be in the Hall because he was elite. And he won the Heisman, right? Connecting him. And he's Latino, connecting him. Mendoza needs to be elite, not good. So I think what a fair analysis would be, as I prepped the show today, would be what is elite? Well, elite in the history of the sport is Joe Montana, Tom Brady, John Elway, Dan Marino, and all of that. I'd like Mendoza to build a path to get to that level. But that's best case scenario. I mean, come on, Dan Marino, John Elway. Well, Dan Marino wasn't taken number one. John Elway was. So we need Mendoza to be great. But what we need Mendoza to be is we need him to be great in big games. Well, he's being taken number one overall because the Raiders had the number one pick as the worst team in football. So he's not going to an elite team. The way Ben Roethlisberger was drafted and went to Pittsburgh and set up his whole career because he didn't go to Cleveland, right? He didn't go to a bad franchise. He went to the Steelers. Or Jordan Love. Jordan Love is now with the Packers. He was going to sit a couple of years behind Rodgers. Packers are a really good organization, and he was able to come along at the right pace. So I'm going to look at two quarterbacks who I think are really important that's going to frame exactly what I think Mendoza could be and what he needs to be. The first quarterback that I want to bring up is the guy that I hope he can become, and that would be Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is the best comparable out there, period. Absolutely, period, of what Fernando Mendoza could be. Matt Ryan was elite. He was an MVP. That's elite. He was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. You want to know what his stats were at the end of his career? 62,792 yards. Would you take that today? Clay Baker, if I said today, Mendoza's going to play 14 years or 12 or whatever, yes, he's going to have 62,000 yards and 381 touchdowns. Would you take that?
Yes, and I'd put a little candle next to his picture at home.
Yes.
You know? Yes, I'd be very happy with that.
So this is the perfect comp, is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, he was the third pick in the 2028 draft of the first round, third pick. That would be my perfect comp. He played in a Super Bowl. He won the MVP. Should have won the Super Bowl, 28-3, biggest choke in Super Bowl history. I blame that choke not on Matt Ryan. I blame it on Kyle Shanahan, who was the offensive coordinator and destroyed that game. All he needed was one more first down to Julio Jones, no less. You know what JT the Brick would have did? I would have handed it off on every play up the middle and punted. But no, they had incompletions, loss for yards, it was a mess. So Matt Ryan would be the player that I'd look at and I'd say, man, if he could end up being that good of a player, I would take that. I would take that all day long. The other player would be Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins threw for 44,700 yards, 298 touchdowns. So he's going to get to 300 touchdowns because he's not going to retire. So he's going to have over 300 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins is a really good player. I think he's the smartest quarterback financially that I've ever seen. Look, Brady is going to be a billionaire. If not, you got guys who are going to be richer. But what he did structuring his contracts was just genius. I mean, Deshaun Watson got lucky. He was a really good talent. Deshaun Watson had a stupid owner give him $230 million, and he's not going to make a penny more. That's it. Kirk Cousins kept signing for 80 guaranteed, 40 guaranteed, 10 guaranteed, and just stockpiled all this money. But if Mendoza turned out to be Kirk Cousins, I would be disappointed. Tremendously. The stats I'd be okay with, but Kirk Cousins played really bad in big games. He didn't have many defining moments. There's a few, but few and hard to find. So that's what we're trying to do here with Mendoza, is figure out what his ceiling is. And that brings me to Dan Orlovsky today, which I'm not going scorched earth on Dan Orlovsky. I think he's pretty good. He works in an interesting environment at ESPN. There's a lot of egos. I'm friends with Stephen A. Smith. There's a lot of people on those shows that have tremendous egos. And the only way they can move up the food chain is by saying stuff that's a little bit outside the box. So what everybody's going nuts about today is reportedly, and I don't know this to be true because I'm seeing it. I watched Pat McAfee's show today with Adam Schefter, and he wasn't sure on it. If Dan Orlovsky has the same agency, not the same agent, the same agency as Ty Simpson, the quarterback who's coming out. And if that's the case, you'll hear it in the soundbite. You can connect the dots. But I will give Orlovsky some credit because he clearly, it took him a while. It took me less time. It took him a while to break down the tape on Mendoza, but he wasn't overly impressed with the Mendoza tape because his job is not to be a fanboy. His job is to look at the tape and try to find the few plays when Mendoza takes his eyes off a downfield coverage and looks down, or Mendoza has heavy feet, or Mendoza takes off too early to run, or he checks down instead of letting progressions go. I mean, that's what he should do. He's Dan Orlovsky. He's a quarterback. Look at that and see if that's what should happen or not. And here's what he said on this a month away from the draft on Fernando Mendoza and the comparable to Ty Simpson.
Who took more games over throughout the course of the season? Ty Simpson. It's not even close. And if we're asking, like, okay, we're trying to see what you are as a player in college and what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL and what translates. I start with, what do you do in moments of panic with the football? Because that's really what separates good to great. I would tell you that Ty Simpson is more consistent in that regard. There's not a ton of moments of panic out of Fernando Mendoza. And then there's moments when he immediately drops his eyes and becomes a runner. Ty Simpson more consistent in that. What guy was asked to do more NFL throws? When I say NFL throws, I'm talking 15, 20, 25-yard in routes, crossing routes, deep corner or sail routes. Yeah. Ty Simpson, and it's not even close in that regard. Downfield throws, the posts and the goes, I think they're close. Mendoza throws a lot of go routes, and he's good at it, but I think they're close. RPO, get it out. That's probably what Mendoza's offense was.
Right.
And then I think throwing on the move, they're both relatively equal. So when it comes to moments of panic and big throws, real NFL throws, I think it's clearly Ty Simpson. So,
all right, so he thinks it's clearly Ty Simpson. That's where he's going, clearly. Well, that's what makes this clickbait. And why did I play it? Because it's worthy of being played on the flagship of the Raiders, where we're presumably taking Mendoza number one. You know, if I was doing my show in Cleveland today or Detroit or in Jacksonville, I don't think I'd be leading with this topic, but I'm leading with it today. So if you look at a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, you could just focus on the wart on his face and say, man, that wart really jumps out. Or you could focus that he's Abraham Lincoln, widely considered one of our greatest presidents. You could look at the Mona Lisa and say, I don't like the Mona Lisa's hair, but man, that smile's pretty impressive. And we could find a way to look at something and look at it differently. But it's pretty hard to argue the one point I wanted to make about Mendoza is that Mendoza didn't have to make a lot of bad decisions because he put his team in good decisions. Okay, we had the opposite here with Geno Smith. Geno Smith was terrible and a good guy, generally a good guy and a good quarterback. Geno was good. Geno's good, and I think Geno's going to play better with the Jets than he played with the Raiders. But, I mean, Geno made bad decision after bad decision. Mendoza made good decisions at Indiana. Guy was open on a slant route. He was open. He went to him. Sorry, Dan Orlovsky, that he didn't look off the open guy on the slant and then pivot his hips and get the guy who was a little bit more open 5 yards down the field. He didn't have to. They were playing in big games where his job was to win the game. His job was to go win the game by making smart decisions. And he had one of the greatest seasons in college football history for a team in Indiana that became a football school for once because their quarterback put them in so many winning situations and executed pretty much on all of them. In the clutch, down, playing with the lead. He took the hit in the national championship game, the Tebow run to the end zone. He did it all. But is he perfect on tape? No one's perfect on tape. But you don't recall back in the day, do you? Because there was no Twitter X. You don't recall all the interceptions that John Elway threw, bad decisions that Elway made at Stanford, right? Where Elway tried to extend the pocket at the farm up in Stanford and made a bad throw across his body that was interception. You don't remember that. You don't remember how bad Peyton Manning was against Florida, do you? Peyton Manning was the quarterback for Tennessee. They should have won 3 national championships. They had Peyton Bleekman Manning. Do you remember all the mistakes he made against the Gators of Florida? You should. There were a lot of them. He didn't win the Heisman because of it. They took him number 1 overall. He had a terrible rookie year. Terrible. Turned out to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So when I look at all of this and what's about to happen, we're a month out. I got to fill a month of radio here or there. And for most of it, I'm going to be positive with Mendoza. But I'm going to listen to others and listen to others on it. But I believe I have the rebuttal. I just gave it to you. I think the rebuttal is you got to look at Mendoza a little bit differently than Matt Ryan at Boston College, or some of the other quarterbacks out there. Mendoza had just a giant aircraft carrier of pressure on his back every throw playing in the Big Ten, the best conference. I apologize, SEC, the best conference. And he had to win games because if they lost one, they probably weren't going to win the national championship. He was trying to pocket the Heisman Trophy, which he was able to do. So if you had all that and how he threaded the needle, a term I use in politics and in sports, he threaded the needle beautifully. It's kind of tough to go after our guy, isn't it? It's kind of tough to take shots at our guy when he did everything that we want him to do to be our number 1 pick in the Raider Nation. So I'm not telling you to sit around and go crazy. Like I got someone here who used a clown emoji with Dan Orlovsky. I'm not doing that. I'm not calling Dan Orlovsky a clown at all. I'm listening to it and I'm playing him the sound. A guy that I like a lot is Chase Daniel, because Chase Daniel reacted from this on his platforms today when he knew Orlovsky was getting all these extra clicks. Chase Daniel warmed up his machine and got in front of the camera and said this.
States his case, and actually I agree with a lot of that, a lot of everything that he's saying. Big time throws, the type of throws that you need as an NFL quarterback. Ty Simpson does that, and you look at the first 8 games just purely on film of Ty Simpson, there was no better player in all of college football. I'm talking number 1 overall pick without a doubt, and it just looks, the mechanics just look good, man. They look beautiful. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He feels like an NFL quarterback. He's a good dude. He's a leader. He's a coach's son, all that stuff. Here's what I think Dan's missing a little bit is that the Fernando Mendoza piece, you start on December 6th in the Big Ten championship game. That gauntlet that Fernando Mendoza went through, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Miami, and the way he played through all of those 9 total touchdowns in those 4 games, the most important game of his entire career with an Indiana team that a lot of people didn't give a lot of hope to go beat these blue bloods of college football, that heart, that poise, all that stuff. Fernando Mendoza is ready to play right now. There's no doubt about that. I think they're really close. I do think Fernando Mendoza is the number 1 quarterback, though. Ty Simpson, I mean, who knows? The career right now, it's really close. But I would go with Fernando because of those last games. Ty sort of struggled in those last games.
All right, so I think that's fair analysis from Chase Daniel. He has it very close. I don't have it very close. But I'm not a former quarterback breaking down film the way they do. So I wanted to get that in here and get your opinion on it and how you think this is going to play out. Today's show, I got 2 hours, no guest. I was away for a couple days, didn't bother anybody. I'm back. I want to hear from the fans and the listeners and everybody on this on how you think this Mendoza month is going to play out. What do you see in your world? That would be your algorithm on X, on Instagram. Whatever you look at when you're sitting there trying to figure out what you want to kind of enjoy, right? This is supposed to be for enjoyment. What do you want to hear about Mendoza? Do you want guests on that'll be fair and critical? Do you want people that are going to be talking about Mendoza already as a done deal and how we build around him? That's kind of the camp I'm in. I'm in the camp of, we got Mendoza, let's build around him. Like, what are we going to do next? And that's the show. And for the next month, every day you will find some of the best Mendoza analysis here. Because I'm going to have plenty of guests on and guests who do mock drafts. But it's going to be a little bit different for me because if the Raiders were picking 6th or 4th, I could talk about the Raiders trading up from Mendoza, right? That maybe they'll go up. Most likely the first pick, if it was the Jets, would not have given up Mendoza to the Raiders. Why would they? So I'm kind of on to pick number 2, which leads to the second portion of my monologue before I get out of here. The other thing is, after doing this close to 30 years, I think I know how to do a draft show, and I normally anchor it for the Raiders, some portion of it. It used to be I'd anchor the draft for the Raiders because they didn't have a Thursday night, right? They didn't have a Thursday night standalone for 20 years of my career. So we do the first round or the second round, and then they knock it out. But now they take a break after the first round, and we don't have, unless the Raiders trade up into the first round with another pick, they're going to take the first pick and it's going to be over. And we're going to have to reassess what they're going to do on Friday night of the draft. But the one thing I want to make sure we don't do on this show is do 7-round mock drafts. Please take me out if I ever think of doing that. None of that garbage. The player that you think is going to be available in the 4th round is not available, and none of our audience knows who that player is. We do not want to bore our audience. So what we're going to do for the next month, after well thought out analysis, is we're going to talk about the Raider needs. What do the Raiders need? And you're going to come to me hopefully and say, we need a corner. And then we're going to look at the corners. Okay, well, here's the 6 or 7 that the Raiders could get. Not the 12 or 15. I don't care. I don't care if D-Cam Richardson is available later in the draft. I don't care. I want to know who's going to start and is going to play on this team and bring this team back to glory. I don't want to know who's going to be developed in the 6th round. Not my job, not what I do. Let them draft the guy in the 6th round and find out if he makes the team and if he's any good. Hasn't worked around here in quite some time. Hasn't worked around here in a god-awful long time that we're sitting here talking about practice squad players. We unfortunately had to talk about the practice squad last year because the team played so poorly that we had to bring up people from the practice squad. When you're a good team, you got players on the practice squad, you never hear their name. So we're going to talk about the needs of the Raiders. What do they need? And I don't know. I don't know perfectly right here what they need. My gut is that they're taking quarterback 1, and with their next pick, a high pick in the 2nd round, they should take the highest grade, not player, because they got 2 really good linebackers, really good. In the 2nd round early, I'm leaning towards you take the number 1 graded wide receiver that wasn't taken in the 1st round. He's got to be a wide receiver 1. He's got to be projected to be a wide receiver 1 because he's going to drop out of the 1st round. But your grade is he's a 1. Take him or take the best overall offensive lineman available at guard or tackle. Okay, that's really important too. If the best available tackle in the 2nd round is ready to start and be that good, he could start at right tackle over DJ Glaze, maybe not. Or you can move him at guard and he can play next to JPJ and Linderbaum, the center. Or at least be close to getting on the field and being that good. And then a corner, yeah, of course, if a corner's available, but these corners are never ready. I mean, Christian Gonzalez, Clay, was such a good pick. Wasn't he, Clay, for New England? You just knew he looked like Mike Haynes with his size and length. You're like, that guy's going to play day 1 and be great. He played in the Super Bowl. If the Raiders see a Christian Gonzalez in the 2nd round that dropped out of the 1st round, I'd be okay with that. Would you be?
Yes, and don't be fooled by, hey, he didn't really play the kind of scheme we were looking for. He was more of a man instead of zone, and I don't know if that translates. Don't worry about that. Start drafting for skills and not exactly for scheme.
Yeah, and I think this becomes really important. This really, 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 really becomes obvious to me that a developing corner has been a disaster around here. And I don't think we want to develop corners. We shouldn't be we're going to be in the business of developing corners for obvious reasons. We're going to develop corners at some point. And we're going to do that. And I get it. And if it happens, okay, the guy's really good. And maybe if he turns out to be a great, great, great corner, all right, you beat me up on that one too. But I think I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking the same as we don't have a lot of time. We got to get going. We got to get going here. We got to start winning some games. And let's get some guys who can get on the field. So that's the monologue. 29 minutes of me. That's it. It's not hard. Very easy. Now I'd like to hear from you at 702-365-9200. How do you see the Mendoza noise playing out over the next month? How do you see that noise playing out, and how are you going to handle that at 702-365-9200? Ben in Denver. Start us off, Ben. What's happening?
Hey, JT, what's going on? Hey, first of all, JT, you're part of the daily routine, so
Thank you.
I'm glad you're back. But, with all due respect, JT, I know you mentioned Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. I mean, if that's the direction that if that's how we're conquering Mendoza, I don't know about Kirk Cousins. I think that's a little bit of a joke there. I mean, he's a fine quarterback, but I mean, I'm not sure on that one. And then as far as Dan Orlovsky, I mean, the guy was a backup his whole career. Sure, he made the NFL, but he was a backup.
Doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. He's an analyst. He's a very good television NFL analyst, man. He played in the NFL. No one's going to beat Tom Brady. There's only one. Orlovsky has a space that deserves respect for him being an analyst. There's a lot of guys, as you know, Ben, who are on NFL Network and on ESPN that weren't great football players, but they're pretty good analysts.
That's true. Well, I get it, and he is, and I do respect him. On this issue with Mendoza, I don't. I just think if Mendoza's last name was Jackson or Hunter or something like that, it would be a different story. But because his last name is Mendoza, I believe, then I think that makes a difference. I don't know how you view that.
Yeah, I think it all makes a difference. Thanks for the call. I think we need to have fair analysis. And what's hard about Mendoza, which I'm trying to make this point, is that he's a unique quarterback to break down because people are looking for something negative off a positive play. Let me make that point again, please. When Mendoza has a 13-yard completion on an in route to the first progression, the first guy, some people are seeing that as a negative. Can you believe this? They're seeing it as a negative because he didn't let his progressions go a little bit longer than getting the ball out quickly. I mean, could you imagine me, if you've known me over the years, not screaming to get the ball out quickly? What do I preach on the radio? Play faster, get to the line of scrimmage quicker, run the plays that work in Henderson, do all that. Do you know how many years, I'm talking years, not weeks, years, that the Raiders practiced plays in Henderson during the week and could not even remotely execute those plays on game day at Allegiant Stadium? Remotely, couldn't even run the play. Mendoza's the opposite of that. Mendoza's a guy that hopefully gets the ball out quickly to Bowers. Bowers is going to run a little 5 yard, just 5 yard, little shimmy head fake and get open. Aren't you confident that Mendoza, if he's locked in on Bowers, but not making it obvious, but locked in, the ball will come out quickly to Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers will gain a first down on first down? That's what I'm hoping for. If you find criticism in that, because Mendoza went to Bowers too early as one of the receivers was open down the sideline, yeah, that's what's going to happen right now for the next month. That's going to be the criticism for the next month, is that Mendoza kind of reacts quickly with his progressions, and sometimes he's not perfect on a pocket that breaks down, like anybody's perfect on a pocket that breaks down. All right, so that's it. We're brought to you by Finley Volvo, right off of Rainbow on the 215. Gorgeous car lot, fantastic. If you're getting ready for tax season, right? Taxes are coming up here. You're going to get a refund check. You're going to get a little money back. Go see Mike at Finley Volvo, Las Vegas. and get yourself into a new safe vehicle, something you feel really safe about, and that you know your family's going to be safe in that vehicle. Brand new, unbelievable stereo, hybrids. If you're looking for efficiency, you can do a lease, you can buy. They got great financing rates. You know, when we say Finley and we talk about their group and we're talking about Finley Volvo, Las Vegas, it's time. The time is now for an upgrade. You deserve it. Finley Volvo on the 215 over at Rainbow. All right. Good first 35 minutes. Let's hear from you. 702-365-9200. March Madness. Got some takeaways on March Madness as we say goodbye to UNLV basketball again. And they weren't even in the tournament. And next, should Joe Burrow have played in that flag football game? Oh, boy, man. That knee was cutting and jiving all day out in L.A.
Every time a player talks about Rob Leonard, it's like this guy understands what I'm best at. And I know
Joe DeLeon at 1:30.
this guy truly
Okay.
gets the player
Oh,
and
we got
what they
vacation in
like to
Aruba.
do, as well as
Oh,
getting
yeah, you are?
the best, because what they
He
like
is.
to
Yes.
do and then
Shields.
being at the
Okay.
best are not always the
They're not
same
on
thing.
beach.
Feels like Rob Leonard is able to find that common thread.
The morning
That's the
tailgate,
show.
weekdays at 7 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly. This is JT for the local 872, proud partners of Raider Nation. Highest paid current non-quarterback contracts. Micah Parsons, 46.5. Max Crosby at 35.58. Career paths, all the public work zones, and the schedules that are happening here in our valley. I'm proud to be associated with the 872. Man, LeBron James and Luka look good, man. Lakers are playing well.
An accident isn't just an accident. It's lost time, lost wages, in a fight you didn't choose. That's where we come in. At DeCastro Law, we deliver serious firepower for serious injuries. We fight to make things right. When you're injured, the choice is you. We're the DeCastro Brothers, and we have your back. Together, we win. Brothers win.
Egon Durbin, there's a new ownership group underneath Mark Davis, but a lot of people want to talk about Mark's succession plan.
Hey, babe, where you going?
You know,
Fantastic.
I don't
The swap meet.
talk
I
about
love
people's
fantastic.
trusts
Can I
and
come
their
along?
benefits and all that. That's none of my
What
business.
are we shopping for?
That doesn't, affect.
They've got everything,
That's
and it's a
what
lot
do we have
shopping
to?
online.
Okay.
What is there to discuss? Mark's going to make
Just over on
a
you.
decision on his
Fantastic stuff.
transition when he
Saturday,
transitions.
Sunday, 10 to
I'm not
6.
expecting that to be anytime soon, but they're getting it in order.
Fantastic.
And like they say, we've got it.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering
This
a crisp,
Yankee cut, I
refreshing
think it
taste,
should be
brewed
played in
with
two
fighting
parts.
spirits.
Okay.
since
One part's about
1925.
refuting Orlovsky and Mendoza, saying let's put them up for auction. The second part is GMs, the way they're trained, they tell you they're telling you they don't like the draft.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's two-parter.
Good. You are going to love it. APR financing up to 72 months with your approved credit. We've been telling you about Finley Volvo Las Vegas. All right. Showroom, and if you're considering buying or leasing a luxury SUV, you have to see and test drive a Volvo.
Nick here with Stefano's Greek and Mediterranean Grill. Summerlin, it's official. Stefano's is now open on Lake Mead in Buffalo. Come enjoy our beautiful dining room designed for
Yeah, I don't also get involved with who my friends date and who they're not dating and AI dates, and I did get hooked into. I took the tweet down. I tweeted out a picture of a frozen eagle that melted. They chipped away at the ice and it flew away. I knew it was AI. I thought it was a really good video. And people are screaming at me today like, hey, take it down. It's an AI. Like, I don't know that's an AI video. Give me a little bit of credit. I got a college degree. I'm in tech. I'm in tech as a stockbroker. I think I know what AI is. I mean, come on. Yes, go Yankees. They open up in San Francisco. I'm looking for a miracle. Anybody got a ticket? Maybe a miracle. I'll fly in there and go there. I'll buy the beer. Great place to watch football games. Check it out at lacasacigars.com. All right.
Worry about your car payment? Don't be. Drive's happy with a Westar Credit Union auto loan. Whether you are ready for something new or want to refinance your current ride, we've got you with affordable payments and easy approvals. Picture yourself behind the wheel, windows down, music up, on the road to what matters most. Apply today at westar.org or stop by your nearest branch. All loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. Must be a member to borrow. Membership requires a savings account with a minimum balance.
The Las Vegas Aviators will look to defend their Pacific Coast League title as they head into another campaign.
How was your weekend, Clay?
Friday, March 27th.
Oh, yeah, it was good, man. Good. What about really fast? I'm sure for you, too.
Yeah, it did.
And then they'll welcome the Oklahoma City Comets.
Anybody doing good on their March Madness brackets? Everybody feeling good? How about the bricklayer bracket? My son will be updating pretty soon. Who's in the lead of the bricklayer bracket?
Shotgun snap. He's looking down the middle. There's some pressure. He's gobbled up and sacked again. Crosby cleaned up the hit. Laulu first through. Herbert tried to sneak up the middle. And Crosby with his second half sack of the ball game, his second sack today.
JT, back with you as we continue on live from Lotus Broadcasting. Back from a couple of days outside Jacksonville and beautiful time in St. Augustine. If you haven't been to St. Augustine, Florida, I highly recommend going. It's the oldest city in America, Ponce de Leon, the first Catholic mass, the Basilica. I mean, it's just incredible. Beautiful beaches, beautiful causeways. The golf is fabulous. Played up, I didn't play TPC Sawgrass, but we played Queens Harbor, which is a few minutes away from that, which was a gorgeous track. Played King and Bear, which is a nice track there too. Had a really good time. Their bar scenes and their restaurants on St. George Street. It's an old little area with forts set up and just fantastic taverns and bars. Really great food and a good time. So I had a good time there. If you haven't been there, I'd put that really on a bucket list. A lot of people go to Florida. They want to go to Key West. They go to Miami. They go to Fort Lauderdale. They go to Naples where my parents live. But if you haven't been up to St. Augustine, I highly recommend it. Not too far from Duval County where the Jaguars are. I didn't spend any time in downtown Jacksonville. I normally avoid that. But the airport was great. You know, the airport, I know a lot of people are coming to Vegas, coming in and out of Vegas, and we seem to be doing pretty good here with March Madness. In regards to March Madness, we have our bracket contest here. We'll update it this week. We'll put it in the chat for those who are participating. I love what we've seen so far in March Madness. The St. John's, Kansas game was exceptional, an exceptional game. Iowa State with TJ Ossenberger, the former UNLV coach, fantastic to see how good they look. Arizona is still a power. Purdue is a team that clearly, if Purdue gets to the Final Four, Purdue is going to be in great shape because that's going to be a home game for them. And now as we sit here with the Sweet 16 in the East, to have Duke St. John's, that's a heavyweight fight. That's a heavyweight fight. And Pitino, if Pitino wins this game, it'll be one of his greatest victories. Even though Duke's down a man and Duke's banged up a bit, for Pitino, who's had great wins at Louisville and Kentucky and Providence, if he can take out the number one seed overall with the Johnnies, that would be exceptional to see. Michigan State, UConn is a big, high-profile game. Huge. Tom Izzo versus Danny Hurley. Can't wait to see that game. That's going to be a lot of fun. Arizona, Arkansas. Arkansas with Acuff, one of the best scorers out there, period. That's going to be great to see. I mean, you're just going to see a great scorer going up against a great team overall. And Purdue, Texas. Texas is an 11 seed. They're an 11 seed. They beat Zagalicious Gonzaga 74-68. That's going to look good. You have Iowa, Nebraska involved. Okay, a lot of farming communities very interested in that game. Iowa as a Cinderella, as a 9th seed. Iowa coming through. This is going to be good to see. Nebraska. Can't wait to watch that game. My wife's school, Illinois, taking on Houston. That's a fun game. Illinois is really good, but Houston is the seed, a number 2 seed there. I picked Illinois to win that one. I hope they do. Tennessee will play Iowa State. Tennessee, sneaky good, great rebounding team. I think Iowa State is the play with that one. You're going to get a good game with Michigan, Alabama. I think Michigan clearly is the best team there. So Sweet 16, if you came to Vegas and are still here or you left, and you're here in our chat or anywhere else and you want to talk about your Vegas experience, go give a plug to your trip. Where'd you go eat? Where'd you go watch the games? How did it work out? How was the treatment you got? Did you feel like the prices were fair? Did you feel like you got the most bang for your buck? Were you disappointed in Vegas? Or were you happy with Vegas and thought that Vegas delivered more than ever? I was out of town. I'd love to hear from you on what you think was the best part of your trip if you came to Vegas. And for the locals here, wake up, please. Like, wake up. I'm on an AM radio station here in town, which is great. But I ain't doing this to be on an AM radio station in town. I'm doing this to be on a much bigger platform. That's why we're combining the LV Sports Network, my YouTube, and all this to have a bigger audience in Vegas. So if we can get Vegas to wake up with everything that's happening in Vegas and tell the rest of the country how great Vegas is, that would help. It seems like some days you got to light a fire under the ass of Vegas. And you wonder why Ames, Iowa gets better basketball players than UNLV. Believe me, I'm going to go on a rant with that in hour number 2. Shields Up is in Aruba on vacation. Good to see you, my friend. I went to Aruba way back in the day. It was kind of honeymoonish for me. I didn't go with my wife, but the beaches are gorgeous. How are you?
Oh, doing great, man. Thanks for that intro, man. It's beautiful down here. It's just paradise, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's our second time down here. Just a great time. Your previous caller, I just wanted to defend my boy Dan Orlovsky. Him and Edsel put UConn on the map. He had a stellar college career, and I think he had an honorable, decent career with Detroit. So hats off to Dan Orlovsky, man. Mendoza, right now, to me, it's like a lot about character because he hasn't even been in the facility yet. So people are going to micromanage him. They're going to down everything else. I mean, he's going to do games. So right now, and I know he's going to take the high road, show good character, smile on his face, weather the storm of all the people that want to, like I said, nitpick and say all these things, and he'll get past that and get into the facility when he's drafted, and then the next step is learning the game, the work ethic, which I think he does, man. But right now, it's all about character and weathering the media storm of nitpicking and breaking down his game, man. So that's what I got on Mendoza, man. This is the phase. Let's get him to the draft.
All right, man. Have a good, safe trip. Shields up and shield yourself from the wind of Aruba. Sounds like he was walking on the beach, Clay, just walking on the sand where the water comes up to the sand in Aruba, looking back at the beautiful hotels there and listening to Sports Talk Radio. I love that.
Yeah, it was like the professor in Gilligan's Island trying to get the radio to work.
Yeah.
He's uncovering a lot of crazy stuff on the beach, waiting for the minnow to get rescued.
Yeah, if we didn't have cell phones, sports radio would be out of business. We need cell phones. Can't the landline. I still have a landline. Clay, do you have a landline at home?
I had until 3 years ago. Yeah. It was hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I will not let anybody shame me into not having a landline. Because I do radio interviews from home, so I like to have the landline here. But most people have gotten rid of their landline. It's another thing that changed in our entire life. Got rid of the DVR, the Polaroid camera. There's no more CD players. Can't get a CD player anywhere, right? And we got rid of the landline. Growing up, when we grew up in our age bracket, did you ever think the kitchen phone with the long cord would be extinct? It'd be gone. We'd never have that.
That was your lifeline with a long cord, so you could hide away and maybe make the conversation a little private. But all along there, it's like, with the CDs and the DVDs, like I still cringe having to pay for stuff that I know I own on CD or DVD somewhere.
Just remember as a kid, though, the kitchen phone, when it would ring and my dad would look, and who would it be, for me or my two sisters? Yeah. But you had to get by my dad. My dad would answer the phone at my house. My dad would pick up the phone, and you better knew how to greet my dad. It better have been, hello, can I speak to, please? It better have been good, because you didn't want that look from my dad. But when he handed the phone to you. But then again, when he handed the phone to my sisters, the long cord, they would stretch it out as far as they could into the dining room from the kitchen so they could go on their phone calls. No doubt about that. Appreciate Shields Up checking in from Aruba. This opens up a line for you, 702-365-9200. The flag football game, that was played. It wasn't played in Saudi Arabia. I'm driving in listening to radio on my way in. I like to listen to radio on my drive in, and the guys who were on, I don't know who their names are, were saying that the game was in Saudi Arabia. I was like, oh boy. The program director listening? Is the producer listening? Is the phone screener listening? No, it wasn't played in Saudi Arabia. And you might have been watching what's going on in Saudi Arabia and in that region of the world. They didn't have it. They had it there. I know Vinny Bonsignor covered it. We'll talk about it. Look, Brady had an unbelievable touchdown throw to OBJ. It was brilliant, right? And Fanatics put a lot into it. The USA team, that isn't the NFL players, are much better than our NFL players because they play the sport overall. It's like tennis players asking Carlos Alcaraz and, a guy like Novak Djokovic to play pickleball in a pickleball regional. They have no chance. Zero against the best pickleball players in the world. They don't. They have no chance because they don't play the sport. We don't play. Our NFL players don't play flag football. They don't know the jukes, the moves. They don't know anything. Luke Kuechly looked like he was on ice skates out there from the highlights I saw. But my huge takeaway on that whole issue was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was running around cutting and pivoting off his knees, and it looked like any moment he could have blew out an ACL or MCL. That was very risky for him to do that. I don't think that was smart. I think that was a tremendous mistake that Joe Burrow was running and spinning and doing 360s and 180s and pivoting on his knee. He could have easily blew out his knee, fact, not fiction, and it all would have been over for him, all of it. So it's just like, why don't you pitch Paul Skeens 8 innings in the World Baseball Classic? You can't afford. Can't afford him blowing out and having a Tommy John surgery playing in an exhibition. Raider Dave in Denver. Hello, Dave. What's going on?
Hey, how are you? As far as Mendoza goes, in college. If he's going to be good in the NFL, he's got to have that skill. And the Raiders need to have somebody that's going to be able to teach it to him. I don't know that AOC is the guy. I'm not sure that Brady has the time. But somebody's going to have to be on the squad in order to teach that. And that will dictate whether or not he's going to start the season or not, to me. But the hysteria of will he start, will he won't start, is just going to be rampant and crazy. And I wish you the best in trying to temper all that, my brother.
Yeah, I'm going to try to temper it. Thanks for the call, Dave. Appreciate it. Always appreciate you contributing. I'm just going to keep it really simple for the next month and build into this great storyline that we have here in Las Vegas, which is the addition of Fernando Mendoza and the number 1 pick. I hope we never get the number 1 pick again, ever. Not even close to it. We have it now. Let's make the best of it. Let's welcome him and his family the same way that the Raider Nation welcomed Coach Kubiak and the year before welcomed John Spytek and everybody else. Let's get this team built the right way, and let's do it professionally. And I think they are. There's been a lot of good men and women behind the scenes, but the guys who've been the GM and the coaches all had great intent. They all had great intent to come in here and make the Raiders great. And they gave it everything they had. But they made tactical mistakes along the way, and then they're no longer here. So we don't want to see that again. We want to see Coach Kubiak here for a long time, decade. We want Mendoza to play here for over a decade. We want Bowers to be so happy he's a Raider that he re-signs long-term, and he doesn't want to get opt out or force his way out of here. He wants to be here. Same for Ashton Genty, too. I'm not just looking at an Ashton Genty rookie contract. I'm looking about him being here long-term. I want all of that to work out great. But it's going to take threading the needle and doing it right in the draft. The Raiders had an outstanding couple of weeks, but it was very noisy, mostly because of Max Crosby. Mostly because of Max Crosby and the scenario. Not of Max causing any problems. Max didn't do it. But the fact that the Ravens backing out on Max Crosby made it really noisy. When I was away on this trip with my college buddies, every single person asked me about Crosby. Every single person, even more than once. What's going on with Max Crosby? He's like a household name. Household name because of the way the Ravens treated him. And I did listen to a portion of Max's podcast on The Rush when he talked about how badly he was treated by the Ravens, the way they made him fly and flying back their commercial. And then they 2-hour drive from DC there. Then they made him sit. And no one really went out there and treated him like he was going to be a newest member of the team. The big clue, the big takeaway on the clue for Max Crosby was by the time he got there, Eric DeCosta was out of the deal. He knew that he wasn't going to have Max Crosby, so they treated him like crap. The Ravens treated him like crap in the training room, not the people that were taking the MRI and all that, not the staff, but the upper organization of Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta treated our guy, Max Crosby, like garbage. Our best player in quite some time was treated like garbage as he was in their building. And as he was in that building, Max Crosby had to sit there with his wife and figure out and ponder his future because he could sense that something wasn't right. That took up a lot of oxygen in my space. Now, hopefully, we can move on and just focus on the draft for the Silver and Black. All right.
Against the Seattle Kraken in the Party Deck, presented by Sire Spirits. The Party Deck is where all the off-the-ice excitement happens, from the Knights Castle to the Night Line. Tickets in the Party Deck are standing room only. Tickets start at just $39. Go to VGKTicketExchange.com for all the info. That's VGKTicketExchange.com. Sponsored by West Star Credit Union and Centennial Subaru. Resale transfer on display. Tickets will be ordered by a mobile 48 hours before the game.
Did you have an unexpected trip to urgent care or the emergency room? Dollar Loan Center has you covered.
All right, how we doing, guys? Everyone good? A good first hour.
Hey, accidents happen, and they usually come at inopportune times. Medical care is not cheap, and don'tbebroke.com is here.
All right, Joe DeLeon. What does that sound familiar, Clay?
And with our instant funding,
Yeah, it sounds like you got to the squeeze.
you don't need a checking account. It's free to apply, and new customers' first week of interest is on us. Stop by one of our 60 locations. Apply over the phone with a real
Joe
person
DeLeon's
or
college
online
football
at
NFL draft
don'tbebroke.com
for
from the comfort of your smartphone. Dollar Loan Center has you covered.
Yep, I got him. I got him on Twitter.
Hi, sports fans. It's the Herd. We're here to talk about game.
I've been to the Masters. I went to the Masters once with my dad. I'm not going to go back anytime soon unless I'm juiced up. It would be nice.
You'll get VIP experience with the best service in town and exceptional savings on your favorite Fords like the F-150. Explore.
My son and my wife went to Buc-ee's. You know, Buc-ee's in Florida. They're everywhere.
FordCountryHenderson.com. Ford Country, where the difference is real. Man, I can't believe this mess I'm in. I don't know what to do.
I think the Raiders are probably done with free agent offensive linemen. Getting Linderbaum was freaking amazing, man.
Hi, this is Paul Pata. Whether you need representation for DUI, domestic violence charges, record sealing, or any other criminal defense.
Oh, I didn't get into Jackson and Jigba, and then we have the candy sound.
Compassion and strong
Okay.
legal representation come together. Check us out at thevegaslawyers.com or give us a call at 707-7000.
Best free agents remaining. Here are the best free agents remaining, according to Greg Rosenthal. Jawan Jennings, Calais Campbell, Joey Bosa, Kirk Cousins, DJ Reader, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Rodgers, Deebo Samuel, Kevin Zeitler, who's 36, a guard, no thanks, but I mean, he'd be a good player. Jawan Taylor, who's 28, from the Chiefs. Oh, and Darren Waller at the age of 33. Darren Waller.
Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas to celebrate the start of the season with a ceremonial first pitch by A's legend Dave Stewart.
No, the Angels will not be a above 500 team.
While you feast on Coney Dogs by American Coney Island and complimentary apple pie, plus special activations from the new hometown team, the A's. And oh yeah, moms drink free. Don't miss the first day of baseball at Circa Resort and Casino. Visit circalasvegas.com for more information.
From birthdays to business meetings, or just because, Craze makes every moment delicious.
artful charcuterie boards made fresh. Visit GrazeCraze.com. Celebrate everything. Call 702-605-6333. Graze Craze Charcuterie.
Modelo is an official
Mock
celebrity
Draft
of the Las Vegas
3.0.
Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial.
I think the new topic is how high is someone going to take Ty Simpson?
A crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirits since 1925.
Gambler's bonus hits again. On March 14th, Michelle hit 4 aces, clearing her Gambler's bonus bingo card for over
I have a type of light on
$10,000.
what the Raiders should do at 36 after Mendoza.
Okay, good. Love that. Audio sounds good, everybody. You can hear the callers. I mean, it's not perfect, but we got a couple of new things we're going to be experimenting on here in the summer in regards to our audio here. Can everybody please hit the like button quickly? We got too many people in here not to have more likes, and please hit subscribe.
Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Ooh.
March into adventure at Centennial Subaru. It's the perfect time to upgrade your drive with the capability, safety, and reliability.
Oh, March Madness.
Right now, lease a 2026 Subaru Forester for as low as $249 a month, or get financing as low as 0.9% APR. Don't miss these limited time offers on one of the most trusted SUVs on the road.
Hey, did anybody go to Luke Combs in Vegas? Anybody go to the Luke Combs show?
Savings await. Centennial Subaru, a short drive from everywhere in the valley. I'm worth more.
You bet I'm worth more.
Your boy Radio Ray went to Luke Combs. He was tweeting away. He was Hank FM, Clay. Hank. It's all about the Hank.
That was true, yeah. A lot of short shorts and cowboy boots.
Boys and girls, right?
76,000?
70,000.
70,000. Okay, yeah. Wow. Yeah, if they would have more events like that.
Raider Nation has found its new home for daily Raiders content. This is Raider Nation Radio 920.
Vegas is not hot right now.
Network, KRLV Las Vegas.
It's the JT the Brick Show.
You just get up every day and you take one step at a time and you keep going and you show up. We have a big mountain to climb, but we're not trying to do it all in one day.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
It's really important to me that we're for any team that's the way that they were back in the old days. It's nothing that we say, it's what we do on the field. All the little things that win that have nothing to do with ski.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Yes, good to be back. Hour number 2 of the show, along with Clay Baker, JT in Vegas, back from St. Augustine, Florida for a few days. Thanks to Vince Sapienza and Vinny Bonsignor for hosting the show. Greatly appreciate them. We got the draft coming up, so we pretty much understand where we're going to be, where we are going to be here for the next month. We're going to go pretty heavy on Mendoza Mondays and all the other shows that we do. I'm doing 2 shows a week on SiriusXM Mad Dog, 3 this week. Tonight, Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday. So 3, that's a lot. That's a lot of 4-hour shows I'll be doing this week on Mad Dog, and we're going to pivot to the draft. So I live out of a calendar, in March is about March Madness. That's what it is. We haven't taken any March Madness calls. I want to hear some stories about people who maybe want to bet or two. Maybe you want to bet. You had a game that hit right for you. But I want to hear about people and their fair criticism. It's got to be fair, right? Because I don't know if you're lying. So if you tell me, hey, man, I was at this casino and there was a cockroach on the floor and there was something. No, I don't take those calls because you could be lying. So I want to hear fair stories about how your trip was for March Madness in Vegas. Okay, everybody got the note? It's real simple. Did you get out in Las Vegas and did you watch March Madness in a casino? Did you have a good experience, really good, or was it something that, you didn't think it was great, it could have been better? That's important for us because we got to be a little bit better in Las Vegas. We got to be a little bit better, and it's the little things. It's the little things, the experience by the way you walk into an establishment during March Madness, how you get treated. My older son, who stayed back to watch the dog and went with a couple of my buddies to a big party at a casino. I'll leave them out. They're not a proud partner yet. But he went to a big casino property, Clay, party. And my son, who's 24, he's been around, but he hasn't been to a lot of these things. And he said, Dad, it was unbelievable. You walked in and it was all the beverages you wanted, all the food stations.
Great.
everything. Now, the reason is you need a hook for that. You need a gambler. So one of my buddies is a big gambler, big blackjack player. So he had passes for that. And, backyard brick, you get a hookup or two here and there. But a lot of times you can't get into those parties because they're only for casino VIPs. So for everybody else who had to do it the way that most people do it with the lunch pail, which was getting up there early, getting to the casino early, getting your seat, trying to figure it out. I think a sports book at times could be overrated unless you're at Circa or the Westgate or something really off the charts. South Point with the great Steve Stallworth is incredible. But if you're at just a regular casino, I'd rather be in a good restaurant with good food and the game's on, Clay, and great service. I mean, if you're at a great place, I know you work at Chickies and Pete's, you work with them, or all the events that I've done in the past with all of our partners, I can go to Grimaldi's and get a couple of pies if they have the game on and have my beverages there and be fine. Are you more of a casino guy for March Madness or just get a good seat with good service?
I always tell myself, let's go back and let's go to one of the big conference rooms and let's just sit in the mix because I want to be in a shared environment.
Yes.
But, anywhere sometimes anybody wants to go, their games are going to be on. In fact, on Saturday, I was at the Eagles Club in Henderson, a very small, like a VFW hall or a Moose Lodge. I was in a place like that, and it was still humming. It was great.
Yeah,
Everyone was
that's
watching the game and totally into it. Every big shot had the same magnitude, so it felt like the same if I was in a 1,000 persons banquet room watching the game or not. But I love the fact that shared environments are there and everyone is totally hooked in, and the money almost becomes just like it's a part of a bonus. I got a bracket, but I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people bet wrongly for March Madness because they want to bet every game. So the more you bet, the more you're going to lose. And put that on a T-shirt. The more you bet, the more you're going to lose. And a lot of people are just betting on games. If you're betting $5-10 a game, just have a little action. That's always fun. A lot of people have big 3-14 parlays. That's a cool thing. You got a bunch of games going on. You try to get maybe 3 or 4 to a 16 parlay and have some fun there.
But are you leading in your bracket? Are you actually like in that mix where you're like you got like 30 points after the first weekend?
Yeah.
You feel like, hey, I could win the big Megillah, the big prize.
Yeah, the big one.
Because now that's all you can think about for the next couple of weeks.
Yes, and I'm excited. So if you had a good experience in Vegas, let us know what that experience was. It could have been at the George, at the Durango. It could have been at the M, at the Raiders Tavern and Grill. Wherever you are in town, give that place a plug and tell me how cool it was. 702-365-9200. Mark, when it comes to Fernando Mendoza, I'm going to leave with the Dan Orlovsky sound again. This is the sound today that's breaking the internet. We are in Vegas where we believe we know that Mendoza is going to go number 1 overall. Seems like a pretty safe bet. But Dan Orlovsky doesn't think he's the best quarterback number 1 overall.
I think when you look at the body of work and what was asked of these two quarterbacks, you have to start with the question, who needed to do more to carry their football team to play well? Ty Simpson, and it's not close between those two quarterbacks. Who took more games over throughout the course of the season? Ty Simpson. It's not even close. And if we're asking, okay, we're trying to see what you are as a player in college and what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL and what translates. I start with, what do you do in moments of panic with the football? Because that's really what separates good to great. I would tell you that Ty Simpson is more consistent in that regard. There's not a ton of moments of panic out of Fernando Mendoza. And then there's moments when he immediately drops his eyes and becomes a runner. Ty Simpson more consistent in that. What guy was asked to do more NFL throws? When I say NFL throws, I'm talking 15, 20, 25-yard in routes, crossing routes, deep corner or sail routes. Ty Simpson, and it's not even close in that regard. Downfield throws, the posts and the goes, I think they're close. Mendoza throws a lot of go routes, and he's good at it, but I think they're close. RPO, get it out. That's probably what Mendoza's offense was.
Right.
And then I think throwing on the move, they're both relatively equal. So when it comes to moments of panic and big throws, real NFL throws, I think it's clearly Ty Simpson.
He thinks it's clearly Ty Simpson. Clearly. And that's what made this soundbite so important when he said he thinks it's clearly. It's not close. It's clearly Ty Simpson. So we know where he stands on this. Mendoza's not going to play another football game until the draft. Obviously the draft, until he gets to week 1 of the NFL, even if he's playing. So Orlovsky's drawing a line in the sand saying, I'm a Ty Simpson guy over Mendoza. I don't even know if he's a really big Ty Simpson guy. He just thinks he does some things at the NFL level, projecting to be better than Fernando Mendoza, and he has the right to do that. So Chris Canty, who's on ESPN and other platforms, said something about the number one pick overall. We're going to take this in two parts because there's two separate messages he gives. First off, the silver and black selecting number one.
Whether or not you think Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza is the best quarterback prospect in his draft is subjective. But what Dan just pointed out tells me that there is no can't-miss quarterback prospect in this draft. And if that's the case, then the Las Vegas Raiders need to hold an auction for the number one overall pick. If you got a quarterback prospect, whether it's Mendoza or Ty Simpson, number one on your board, and it's debatable on whether or not you can mess this kid up, you should probably consider trading down if there's a team that's willing to give you a king's ransom to move up to number one to take either one of them. Whether that ends up being the New York Jets or the Arizona Cardinals or the Cleveland Browns, these franchises that have multiple first-round picks, these franchises that are listless when it comes to being able to find a franchise guy, you should be auctioning that pick off.
Okay, I don't agree with that at all. So he believes that the Raiders should auction that pick off, which I find really interesting now because the Raiders did the same thing with Max Crosby. Two first-round picks. One this year, the 14th overall, on top of next year's Baltimore number one pick. And Baltimore reneged on that. And now you got a former player saying, do it again. Just have an auction and move it. Move it. No, we're not going to do that. Nope, we're not going to do that unless it's so stupid. It's so nuts. Now, if Ty Simpson is so good, why aren't we talking about him going number 2 to the Jets? Jets need a quarterback. They got Geno Smith. They need a quarterback. Who cares if Ty Simpson goes 18th, 28th, 31? It'd still be a first-round pick. If the Jets get their right quarterback, do you think they care if it's the second pick overall or the 30th? No. They're going to get the need that they need the most. But you're not hearing that. You didn't hear Dan Orlovsky say, I love Ty Simpson over Mendoza, so the Jets should take him number 2. How'd you leave that one out, Dan? This is Captain Obvious stuff. Mendoza's going 1. You like Simpson better than Mendoza. Respect. I put respect on your name. Then how come you didn't end the segment by saying the Jets would be nuts not to take Ty Simpson number 2? Because I think most people think the Raiders would be nuts if they didn't take Mendoza 1. So you didn't hear that from Orlovsky, and now more and more people are going after Dan Orlovsky because they say it works for the same agency, has the same representation as Ty Simpson. So if that's the case, he's going to have to go clean that up. He's going to have to go out on television and say, just to make this clear, I work for the same, my representation is not the same guy, but it's the same firm, because that's going to be important. So part 2 of Chris Canty here about the weakness of this draft overall. So he just told you about the quarterback part of it. What about the rest of the draft? Is there a weak one?
Because if you're the Raiders, you understand that this is a multi-year rebuild that you are about to undergo with your new head coach, Clint Kubiak. And the best thing that you can do is stockpile picks so you can acquire top-tier talent. And what the NFL has told us, with the volume of trades that we've seen in the first month of the new league year, is that they don't feel great about this year's draft. We've had 19 trades since this offseason. 19 trades, which is 3 more than any other offseason before the draft. And we still have a month to go before teams are on the clock. So you're having that level of veteran player movement because teams are trying to aggressively fulfill needs by throwing money at the problem and draft picks at the problem in order to get players that they can rely on in 2026 because they're not sure about what's coming out of the collegiate ranks. So if you're putting all of these things together, it's pointing to the Las Vegas Raiders needing to make the decision to trade down and trade out of that number 1 overall pick.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that on TV today. I'm not glued to ESPN personalities every day on television. I like Stephen A. I watch a couple of them, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, but I'm not going to sit there all day and wait for that. But that's his opinion, that the Raiders should consider moving out of the number 1 pick. That's part of some of the Raider clickbait that we're going to play. Because, again, I got no one on hold. I got one of the biggest shows in Raider history. No one's ready for this. That's why you wonder why people take vacations this time of year. I'm here. I've taken 3 days off this year, I think, in the big picture, maybe a couple more. We want to get people excited about Mendoza. 702-365-9200. Mendoza Monday, brought to you by the M Resort Spa and Casino. 2 towers are better than 1. Been in the second tower, blew me away. First tower you're very familiar with. All their activations are fantastic. They're coming off a big March Madness. Their restaurants, the Raider Tavern and Grill, their pool season is heating up. Very good pool out there. Great cabanas, great service, unbelievable drink selection. Head on out to the M Resort. Stay there and use the pool. I think you'll be blown away. Much better than some of the properties on the Strip, which are chaos to get from your room suite down the elevator to the pool. It couldn't be any easier at the M Resort Spa and Casino as we continue on. Adam Schefter also talked about these young GMs. You know, the Ravens pulled out of a high-profile trade. Maybe some of these younger GMs are looking at trade sooner than later because they want to keep their jobs.
We have a new breed of GMs. It's a younger group of GMs. It's a more aggressive group of GMs. And when we look at some of the teams that have had the greatest success, they have not been afraid to make trades. If you see Micah Parsons dealt, if you see Sauce Gardner dealt, if you see Quinnen Williams dealt, then anybody could be dealt at any point in time. General managers, young and eager, they're not afraid to pick up the phone now and say, hey, what would you take for that particular player? We saw it this week with the Denver Broncos and Jalen Waddle. It's a copycat league, and it used to be, in my mind, in my world, the busiest times of the year were free agent week, draft week, and the week when the regular season ended and coaches were fired and hired. In the last few years, what has nudged its way into that list is the trade deadline. I think that right now has become as busy a time as free agency. If we look at the number of trades that have been made at the trade deadline in the last few years, it's skyrocketed. And so teams are used to making trades at the trade deadline. They've continued that into the off-season, into free agency, and the start of the new league year. And there's nothing that these general managers and front offices are afraid of anymore because the best front offices are being active and aggressive in pursuing trades, so everybody else is.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great soundbite. I think the best front offices led by Howie Roseman in Philadelphia are going to do whatever they can to get in there and make a trade, do something special. A lot of times when you make a trade, when you want to bring in a player, you want to bring a good player to your team, you're going to have to give up more. You're going to have to give up more. But there are a lot of contracts that have expiring years coming up. So someone like Tyree Wilson, for example, right? We've been feeding that contract since he came in with the number 7 pick overall. It's not a lot of money, but it is. It's the 7th pick overall. It's more expensive than you think. And we can't trade him. We haven't been able to trade him because he's too valuable if he ends up being good, which he hasn't been living up to that point. So you hold on to him until you get to the point where you say, well, we've given him 4 years. We're not going to give a 5th-year option to him. Let's just move him for a 6th-round pick. Well, you don't want to do that with the 7th pick overall. You want to hold on to those important draft pieces as long as you can to develop them. Problem is there's been so much turnover with the Raiders, so many GMs and head coaches, that you got to hope that the new GM, and John Spytek's a young GM, and the new coach, Clint Kubiak, likes some of the players. If I'm Malcolm Kuntz, I'm pretty excited that John Spytek and Clint Kubiak and Robbie Leonard want him on the team. Because he's a player that I look at and I say, if they let him go, okay, he hasn't been available a lot, he hasn't played well. He had a little bit of a run where he played well. If they let him go, it's not the end of the world. We wish him well. Good guy. If they keep him, they must see something. They see something that's worth encouraging him to get to the next level of his career. So when you see Tommy Eichenberg, Clay, and you see Tyree Wilson, and you see Malcolm Kuntz, even Adam Butler, who's a good player, and they're going to remain on this team, along with some of the other corners per se. Eric Stokes got a new deal. The guys who are still here should be highly motivated to welcome the new guys who came in via free agency, because if they're still here, there's some confidence in the building that they could wake up and play at a higher level.
Yeah, you always are able to go and put your game to a higher level when you're surrounded by an infusion of talent.
Yes.
Especially the ones they have right now, a lot of impact players. Therefore, you're not having to do all the work yourself, and you feel like there's a buy-in. When there's a commitment in personnel, it brings out the best in everybody.
Well, you need a football team. You got to have certain bodies on the team, so you don't cut everybody. You don't cut everybody along the way, but you have to go out there and say, who are we going to keep right now? Who do we have to keep that we just know these players are going to be important going forward for one more season? And I make that clear. One more year. There's a bunch of players I have off the top of my head that are only going to be here one more year under John Spytek if they're able to play. And they're going to have to play at a high level. I'm not worried about Tyler Linderbaum at all. I'm not worried about Jalen Naylor. I think he's going to be good. Kwity Paye, I've seen him play enough. He's a good, solid player. But the other guys, we're all going to be sitting around wondering what's going to happen. These new roster additions, Nakobe Dean, the linebacker, number 17, he's a beast. I love the way he plays. Connor Hayward, the fullback, coming over from Pittsburgh. He is rock solid, right? It's rock solid. Spencer Buford, the guard. I think he can play. He's definitely competing for a starting spot, let alone first in if someone goes down. And then we got some good players that signed to come here because they know, look, Matt Gay, the kicker. I'm a Carlson guy. I like Carlson. They saw something different in this kicker. They think it's going to be interesting that he's going to be better, maybe from a distance. But Nakobe Dean, I wasn't expecting that at all. I was hoping for Tyler Linderbaum. But the rest of the guys that came on board, wow, what a nice Christmas in March. I mean, the amount of players that came over here that I wasn't expecting. Kwity Paye is one of them. That guy can play. And Quay Walker, Quay Walker is a beast. Jalen Naylor, I watched play in high school. I know what he can do, speedy. God, the Raiders had some good additions to this team that I was not expecting because I wasn't expecting this many new starters in March. So glass is half full for me, everybody. I hope it is for you too. I hope it is. You should be really excited about it. And I know who's excited, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. Did you see their beautiful uniform they had at the flag football game? Gronkowski wearing Raising Cane's across his chest. They know where to be a part of the biggest events in sports. We're proud partners with Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One Love, proud partner of our show. The best chicken fingers in the world and the sauce made in store daily. So you know it's going to be fresh, ready to go along with the coleslaw. I had some coleslaw out at a barbecue out in St. Augustine. I had one bite, I put it down. Said, nope, I'm used to Raising Cane's. I get the double order. It's so good. The coleslaw there, the best I've ever had. All right, Joe DeLeon's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's a college football draft analyst. He's got some hot opinions on what's happening. We'll get to him. Thanks to all the bricklayers, everybody who's in our bracket contest and on our YouTube page. Remember, you can always watch the show and see what we're talking about in the chat. It's on YouTube, JT the Brick. Please sign up for free and get all the alerts on everything we're doing. Thank you, everybody. Good to be back. Good to see so many people here. Thank you for today. Big shows the rest of the week. Mad Dog tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. Woo, that'll be a tough one tonight on Sirius XM 82.